Stop being selfish. My pregnant sister needs a bigger room, my wife said, standing in my bedroom with her sister. She's moving in tomorrow. You'll stay in the garage apartment. She said it like a verdict. Stop being selfish. My pregnant sister needs a bigger room. She stood in my bedroom like she owned it. My wife, her sister beside her, one hand resting on a carefully curved belly. Her sister's husband leaned against the doorframe, smiling, not nervous, amused. You'll stay in the garage apartment, my wife added. She's moving in tomorrow. Her sister's husband laughed. That was the sound that stayed with me. Not loud, not mocking, certain, like a man who already knew how the story ended. That night, I didn't argue. I nodded. I folded my clothes with steady hands. I kissed my wife's cheek and tasted a stranger's confidence on her skin. I slept in the garage under flickering light, listening to the house breathe without me. That was the first time I understood I had already been removed. We weren't always like this. Once, my wife and I were a team. Late nights building a life from invoices and takeout cartons. She used to sit on the kitchen counter while I explained contracts, pretending to listen, smiling like I was the smartest man she knew. Her sister was a constant, loud, needy, always borrowing money and returning favors with excuses. Her husband came later. Charming. Too charming. The kind of man who touches your shoulder when he laughs. I paid for their wedding. I co-signed their lease. I forgave missed payments. I believed loyalty was cumulative, that if you gave enough, it stacked into safety. I was wrong. The signs had been there long before the garage. Locked phones, glances that lasted a beat too long, her sister's pregnancy announced without a doctor, without a date, without joy, only urgency. The laugh at the doorframe wasn't humor, it was relief. I didn't confront them. I did something better. I watched. The truth arrived quietly, like most important things do. A receipt in my wife's car for prenatal vitamins purchased months before the announcement. A clinic bill addressed not to her sister, but to my wife. Different last name, same address. My address. Then the camera footage. The garage apartment had been mine once, my retreat, my thinking space. I still controlled the security system. I watched them use it like a hotel room. I watched my wife's sister's husband unlock the door with confidence. I watched my wife arrive later, hair loose, jacket folded over her arm. I watched the fake belly discarded on a chair. No sound, just certainty. Pain didn't come first. Cleary did. Pain followed, but by then I was already planning. I moved quietly. That was my gift to myself. I met with a lawyer under the pretense of restructuring assets. I transferred ownership of the house to a holding company I controlled, citing tax efficiency. Perfectly legal, perfectly invisible. I hired a private investigator, not because I needed proof, I had it, but because proof is more convincing when it comes from someone else's mouth. The report arrived thick and final. Dates, photos, patterns. I checked the lease I'd co-signed, the clauses they'd never read, the default terms they'd violated. I spoke to my accountant, then my wife's, then her sister's husband's employer after a quiet tip about conflicts of interest and falsified expense reports. I didn't lie. I let facts do what they do best when placed correctly. I smiled at dinner. I asked about the baby. I handed over the master bedroom with a graciousness that made my wife glow with victory. They thought I was shrinking. I was setting the stage. First, the money stopped. Accounts frozen pending review. Cards declined mid-lunch. Panic bloomed. Then, the eviction notice. The house wasn't hers anymore. The holding company required vacant possession due to renovations. The garage apartment was included. Next, the job suspension. Then termination. The laugh disappeared after that. The final move required an audience. I invited family, friends, her sister's parents, a small celebration dinner before the baby arrives. My wife beamed, playing hostess in a house that was no longer hers. After dessert, I stood. I didn't raise my voice. I never needed to. I showed the report, the footage, the clinic bill. I explained the holding company, the lease violations, the reason the pregnancy never had a due date. Silence collapsed the room.
My wife's sister screamed first. Her husband didn't laugh. He couldn't look at me. My wife reached for my hand and found nothing. "You planned this," she said. "Yes," I replied, "after you moved me out of my own life." They left that night with boxes and accusations. The baby was never mentioned again. My wife tried to negotiate, apologize, rewrite history. I filed for divorce before she finished her second sentence. The house sold within a month. I kept the garage apartment. It was enough. Sometimes justice doesn't look like destruction. Sometimes it looks like precision. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I didn't lose myself trying to be understood by people who mistook kindness for weakness. I learned something in that garage, under that flickering light. If someone asks you to shrink so they can feel larger, they were never standing on solid ground. I stopped being selfish, and for the first time in a long time, I took back everything that was mine.